Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and let's talk about fuel pumps. Very sexy topic. Actually, in this case, it's a very important topic. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has an Office of Defects, has expanded a probe to include millions of trucks and SUVs on the fuel pump they have in the engine. And this is an ongoing saga. If you know much about the diesel world, you know CP4 was a Bosch supplied fuel pump. They're a tier one supplier that are used globally. And so there's a story on pickuptrucktalk.com, which will be very important if you have one of these trucks. There's links in these stories you need to know. So I'll pin this story in the top of the comments on this video as well. So what do we have going on here? The CP4 fuel pump. And so what we have is the key issue is our diesel fuel in the United States doesn't have the same lubricity as diesel fuel used in Europe. This caused the wear between the cam and roller in the fuel pump to not have enough lubricity, and that would generate small metal shavings that could be released into the fuel system. Those metal shavings basically grenaded the engine. Catastrophic failures. I mean, just magnitude of 8, 10, 15, $20,000 repairs because they had to take it all apart and basically rebuild or replace the engine. So according to carcomplaints.com, the original CP4 failure investigation included 2019 to 2020 Ram 2500, 3500, 4500, and 5500 trucks equipped with a 6.7-liter Cummins engines. This is very interesting, and I'll get to more why this is interesting in a little bit. Just hang on for a minute. So we have Cummins, we have Ram heavy duties, and we have a Cummins engines. So they recalled those with CP4 issues. Now, the National Office of Defects has decided to expand its safety probe to include any automakers who've installed the CP4 fuel pump. The upgraded probe, includes a lot of Ram trucks, as well as Jeep vehicles that have the EcoDiesel. And they're also looking at BMWs as well that have that CP4 fuel pump. What's interesting about this is if you look at the document, this is the official document that it's public knowledge, U.S. Department of Transportation. You can see the details here. They've upgraded it. Date open was 3/17/2023. We have a high pressure fuel pump failure. We saw the brands. They have Chrysler, they have BMW. They list Bosch there as well. Estimated population is 490,000 trucks. But what kills me with this is they are expanding on the investigation after the recalls of the certain model years. As I pointed out, the heavy duty trucks equipped with the Cummins diesel engines. During the investigation, the Office of Defects sought to determine if the related defect allegation was limited in scope to the recalled population. After review of the information request response materials from both Fiat Chrysler and BMW, NHTSA has determined that sufficient information to identify a comprehensive recall population could not be produced by Fiat Chrysler and BMW. So they asked Fiat Chrysler and BMW how many vehicles used with the CP4 pump, and they came back and said, well, we don't really know, or they can't get a good answer. And so NHTSA was like, whatever, guys, we're going to expand the probe to everybody. So they have included any vehicle. So this expanded probe starts with engineering analysis to make sure that part really is defective. And then they determine if that engineering specifications, internal pump components. So they do that, step one. Step two, identify vehicle populations equipped with the alleged defective pump variants, this is big for Ford and GM, BMW, and a lot of the brands. Assess if the vehicles equipped with the alleged defective pump variants result in unreasonable risk to motor vehicle safety. And four, gather and review any other relevant information. So they're gonna expand it to any vehicle using this, and they're gonna probe everybody. And what's interesting with that is that could mean a variety of these lawsuits could be settled. So this is the big deal here. There's a link here. It says multitude of lawsuits. If you open this link, it'll take you to Hans Bergman. I think that's how to say it. They have just solidified a class action status for General Motors for this CP4 fuel pump failure. Interesting, while I was writing the story, I got an email from Hags Bergman saying, we just got the class action notification. We're moving forward with this, which is really interesting timing. Just haven't worked out. So I was working on this story when it went out. So a couple things to know about this. This link is in the story. For class action lawsuits, you are automatically opted in unless you decide to opt out. So you don't have to do anything. But if you do want to be part of notifications of things, you want to talk to lawyers, there's a contact us form. You can fill it out. You can get email responses. And I think this related document, so this is 3/3/23. I've been working on this for a little bit. They granted the class action lawsuit for the CP4 fuel pump for 2011, 2016 GMC and Chevrolet diesel trucks. So this is now a class action lawsuit for them. What's interesting is you look at what vehicles are actually impacted by this. And remember I said millions? Well, we have all of the EcoDiesel engines. And again, why Ram didn't recall all the EcoDiesels when they recalled the heavy duties, I don't know. That seems kind of ridiculous to me. We have all current Power Stroke diesel engines from Ford to present. And we have the LML diesels and LGH diesels from General Motors. This is before they made the switch to the L5P. And when they made that switch to that new engine, they went with a Denso fuel pump. So they got rid of Bosch completely. And you can see those model years ended. Now, why Ford still uses it? Who knows? Why Ram didn't recall the EcoDiesel makes no sense to me. And then looking at BMW as well as anybody else in the United States that uses that fuel pump. And so it's related to the defect. And so if you look at what you can do, if I go back to the story here, and so what do you do if your vehicle has this fuel pump? There's a couple things you can do. First, there's a CP4.2 bypass kit. So there's two CP4s. There's a was it right here? I think I have it. Yeah, there's a two different CP4s. There's a CP4.1 and CP4.2. This is on Diesel World. And so there's a scaled down version of CP4.1 and a CP4.2. And this one was used before where General Motors went to the Denso HP4 fuel pump with L5 Duramax. So they're still used in the Power Stroke, still used in the VM Motori EcoDiesel, and then the Cummins as well. What's interesting with the Cummins is I was on I talked to Hags Bergman about this, is that in that case, the law firm sued Cummins and Nissan collectively. Where the other lawsuits, they've only sued the brand, not Bosch. So I find it fascinating that Bosch hasn't been sued yet because it seems like easy one to sue. I'm not sure why they can't figure that one out. Maybe it's a logistical thing, law issue, whatever. But they have sued Cummins and Nissan in the case of the Titan. Okay. So the other thing you can do, you can decide to use some Lubricity Extreme. So this is from Hot Shots. Power Service has a similar item as well. I don't know. I had the link up, but this is an Lx4 Lubricity Extreme. So the idea behind this is to add additional lubricity to the ultra low sulfur diesel. And this will add that lubricity in to let that fuel pump work correctly and not grenade itself. Okay. So then this led me to some questions about, okay, I just bought a GM 3-liter Duramax inline 6 diesel. Am I going to be screwed here? Like, what's going on? Well, I checked it out and I'm still waiting for a response back from General Motors. But the driving line has a really good story here. They looked at the 2.8 liter inline 4, 6.6, and the 3-liter Duramax. They all feature the high pressure common rail injection system, which has been pretty common now with diesels for a couple of years. But they're not sure if the twin turbo high pressure fuel pump, which is seen, I believe right there, it's chain driven, if it's a CP4.2 unit from Bosch or the Denso pump similar to HP3. They do know on the driver's side. Now, for me, it seems like they would go Denso after all the problems they had with the Bosch. It seems like it makes sense to me. I do have an email in to General Motors to ask them which one's which, because now I'm concerned about maybe I should run out and get some additive right now. If it's going to be the CP4, I don't want to have any sort of $8,000 to $20,000 problem with this engine. But I haven't heard this thing happening in a GM, so I'm going to be curious. Update this. I'll put an update down below or whatever when I find out the official details on it, or write a story on pickuptrucktalk.com, because I've searched and searched and I can't find information out there, and I've checked different GM parts as well. So it seems like since they switched from the LML to the L5P, they got rid of the Bosch CP4 fuel pump. And I remember when I did that drive back in 2016 for that new truck, I remember the engineering saying something about that, and it didn't dawn on me. They were like, yeah, we got rid of the Bosch. We went to Denso. So it seems like that was something that was done, well, 7 years before my diesel came out. So maybe they've gotten that nipped in the bud by now. But it's interesting that the Ford hasn't made the change yet. And it's really interesting to me why Ram didn't recall everything. Like, if we're going to do it on the heavy duties, why don't you do it on the light duties too, and the Jeeps? Weird. All right. So like I said, I'm going to put the link down below in the comments. I'll pin to that comments. If you want to sign up for a lawsuit, there it is for you. Also, check out the videos over here. And again, the website. As always, thanks for watching. I will see you down the road.